Not yet. Okay. Okay. Second half more active than the first. So more active than the first. So actually, it's you start to move, put some finesse in the leg work. The leg work is really the part that we need always some work on. Getting into position, in and out, consistently. With structure and weight shifting without being a little bit heavy. So, a lot of times when we shift weight, well, we just step it just becomes this, so the legs are not there, but you kind of know you're going there, but not really knowing. So let's run through it and see what happens, and kind of then we'll work on what the techniques that might. Well, we can, we'll go through it after. Yeah. Okay. What you doing, Sonny? Checking temperature of water? Okay, all right, deep breathing. So, when we get in and out of our stances, we go back to the first form, and we do an uppercut, and then we do a sliding step. Every time you have a couple of movements combined together, it becomes a combination. Right. So if we go like this, if we're in a ready position, we go up, and we remove, and we punch, up, remove, punch, up, remove, punch. That's typically not how you learn it, as far as the quickness of the movement and your mental intent. But what you're doing is you're coming in, boom, boom. So when you move, remove, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2. That's what we've learned in the first form, but do you move like that during the form? No, but you can move like that when you're trying to sort of imagine what you're doing with it. Because the form itself just houses these postures. So I call it like the library of movements. It's like a book. That's all it is. Back in the day, they carved it on walls, on stone, because they didn't have paper. And when they came out, they invented paper. Probably that was a big breakthrough. Now you don't draw pictures, you just take pictures, and now you have video. So technology has changed, but has the understanding changed? We still try to use the same basic thing. We look at the pictorials, try to figure out what's going on. But looking at a flat image, really doesn't represent what's actually happening. So then what do you need? You need some dialogue, you need some information. So looking at a picture is like looking at a movie without sound. So you don't get the whole picture, or at least you don't get the whole interpretation. So when we see a movement like this, then we see a movement like this, without the video or without an explanation, you wouldn't know whether it was an uppercut or a back fist, would you? Right? So that's why, knowing the different postures does make a difference, because they have different maneuvers. If I go like this, did you know whether it came from here or it came from here or came from here? Came from here? You wouldn't know. But that's really the piece that we're focusing on, and that's what that is really when you're here and you punch, you're doing that. That's all you're doing. You're punching, you're punching, you're punching. So those are your only options, right? You could be here, you could be here, you could be here. So those are a variation of the same thing. But your body needs to get all these variations in it, not just from the imagination side of it, but from knowing it as a reflex. When you touch a stove and you pull your hand away, there's no real form to that, right? For some reason it's hot because you're smart enough to know you're going to get burnt, but you really don't know that you're pulling away because there's an action. You just know you're getting away from it. So you're really good. You might jump, but the thing is, it's usually just this. So a reflex action is just, pulling away like you would block. So my hand is here and I go like this. That's a reflex. You're pulling away, look, and it's as quick as if you touch that hot thing on the stove. But they've done actually sort of a study on this, that if you did some type of a thing like that, whether it's hot or cold, people would just respond not knowing whether it's really hot or cold, but they're going to react to it. So when you use that as a concept, that's pretty quick because there's no mind or thought involved. It's just an action. So when you practice this stuff enough and the hand's here and you go like this, that's just a reflex action. So what do you need that for? Well, something comes to the head and you just go like that. You just pull back. That's all you're doing. As soon as you touch, you're just going to intercept. Smart enough to don't be there, not to be there, so that's called avoiding. The first line of defense is, there's to avoid. So he punches. I didn't avoid it, but he switched hands. So first thing to do is avoid. It's a good thing I had my mask on. Okay, go. I knew it. Okay, so when you avoid, you move, but you have to have a supplement to the avoiding. So when you avoid, you have to turn. I just kind of did that, but actually, if you turn, it would be better. But the thing is, you have to move, and then you have to move. So what we're doing, we're doing this, and we sink, and we go like that. So sometimes, like the Qigong would do things, and he actually didn't look. So when he threw a punch, he would just kind of duck around like that, and you just move. So when you do a movement, there's a combination: avoid, put the hand where it's supposed to be. When he punches, it's there. So avoiding is half the battle. The other half is make sure you kind of get your hand there. Without the hand, you're kind of taking a chance. And when he throws, if you block here or you block, reach and try to go away this way, you're just avoiding by changing the distance. When you avoid by moving away, there's still like there's room for error. So if I go here, then it's there. If I go here, I have to move to this side. But here, if I didn't move enough, like what happened there, it would hit here, right? But my hands should be still there to at least control, and then I would have to respond like that. So your hand and the body have to give a thing. So that's what image is. So if he punches and I go like this, then that is really connecting, right, and avoiding as a simultaneous action. So what do you do when you're doing kungfu? When you're here and you go like that, I'm here. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. Right? So that's the breakdown of the movement. But in reality, what is happening is you're intercepting here and we're turning here. Right? If I go like this is 1 movement. This is 2 movements. And if I step over here, this is walking around. That's footwork. So you have to actually have a combination of all of these things for it to work. So the thing is, This is blocking, center line, absorb and deflect. So when you do your form, you're moving, you're moving, you're moving. So we're moving like this in the salute. But what have you learned? You learned to move opposite, right? Opposite and respond. So if I'm here, if I punches and I go like this, that's a side step. If I go like this, that's direct, right? So you can go directly at your opponent. You can avoid through sidestepping, or you can avoid by retreating. The worst is the retreating this way because you're losing distance, right? And here's the other thing. If I'm going backwards, how can I go forward, right? So you can't. If I go sideways, I can step forward. So that's kind of efficiency of movement. This is more efficient than just doing this, because this requires, like if you stand here, this requires a lot of blocking and pushing to avoid, because you're still in the range, you kind of are not in the right place, so you have to do something to avoid. So what do you end up doing? You go like this, waiting for him to kick me in the groin, and then I have to avoid, right? So here again, if I go like this and I step, there's your cross step. That's what a kuen bu is. When he punches and I use this, that's a side step, right? It's just like this, right? So, that's just a variation of what we're doing. But I'm moving to the side and I'm going here, right? I'm moving to the side and I'm going there. So what do we learn? That when we step, we have to shift. So when he punches, I'm kind of moving like that, right? So this is a deflect like kungfu kuen. This is more of a control because I intercepted and I actually use my body as a turning. So this is changing the direction, because once you have control of that, so this is your bridge. We practice more bridges than kind of dodging, but you kind of blended the other thing together. So the center line or center body movement is this. So this is your midline, your mid space. It's called the middle area or center gate. Your center gate is the biggest part because that's kind of the area, not the biggest target. When they say when the police shoot, they don't shoot at legs. Why? Because there's spaces between and those bullets can miss. They shoot at the biggest mass, and that's part of their training. You just can't help it because the chance of hitting is there. But the thing is, you shoot at the center of mass, there's a lot more in there that can be hit. They don't even shoot at the head because that's smaller. But the best place to shoot is probably right here, because you're going to hit the brain and bang, it's going to be destroyed. But you shoot here, people survive that. So when you punch, it's the same thing. Most people like to hit the head, but it's not that easy to penetrate that hard skull, even though so people close their eyes and how do these people survive all these hits in the head? Sometimes the body can survive it, and the other thing is it's bigger and it has more mass. It's softer, but you hit a couple of places. Once the ribs are broken or like this, it still can do damage. And the back of the body, in the kidney area, if you're hitting the face, if you get up in here, that's probably where you're gonna do the most damage because of the jolting of the head. You're not going to crack the skull that easily. You hit an object as hard as the skull, because it's unsupported, it kind of yields to it because the neck will go. Unless the person's on the ground and then you got this big coconut and you're going to smash it, then there's going to be some damage. So you have to know what's supporting it. So if you're actually doing the elbow, if you have the head, boom, that might be a lot better than just kind of doing that. So this just kind of gives you an idea, the stuff that we're learning, even though we're not going to go out and use it. When you hear the graphical explanation of the graphic, it's just a little bit more, interesting. Like when you go up like this. This is the one, back in those James Bond, just like, open the nose like this and they give you a front kick to heel kick, and they pull the nose off your face. It's I don't know if that happens, but that's in the movies. Yeah. Anyways, so when you go like this, when you uppercut, your secondary hand has to come together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now if you're gonna do uppercut and then remove, 1, 2, 3. So you gotta step back and move forward. Step back, move forward. Step back, move forward. So that's what a suspended horse is. But your legs have to be the part that makes the moves. So why your feet are so important is because if your feet aren't involved, guess what? You don't know where it's going to go. Your feet are like your tires in a car. You steer it in a direction. So if I go forward like that, I go backwards, I go forward, I go horse, I move like that. So this is sort of systematized learning of footwork. Because footwork typically you don't really learn, you're going to do it. So most of you kind of do this. If you played any sports, you're probably doing that anyways. So if you play basketball and you move from side to side, you're in a horse stance. You're shuffling, and you're shuffling, and you're shuffling, right? If you move forward, you're covering, you're moving. Maybe your hands are like this, but you're always moving, you move back. And you have this natural ability to move around your opponent. But the thing is, where did you learn that? You learned it by doing it. So if we don't do our movements sort of like this, when it's time to use it, that's not the time to figure it out. Because by the time you figure it out, it's too late. So that's why when we do the forms, at least if we get a basic understanding of what we're trying to do, or simulation, it's kind of setting up a scenario. This is uppercut, this is a punch, uppercut, remove. Now you might not even be removing anyone here. You might be jumping back defensively and coming back. You might be just coming up and then see this opening and try to go for it. So that's a response. See the hole, then you try to go into it, right? So that's what you have to do. See, there's always an opening. We call those openings. Like if, one of the theories they have is called wong loi. Wong means to come around. So a Sunday punch, when it, boom, as soon as, so the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So if he hooks, you punch, right? So that's what you do. If he comes in straight, you have to go around. So that's what that is. So when he punches, you have the option. This is one way. So you practice. How do you train? So you do it again, right? So if he does the other side, you go the other way. He does again. So he tried to fake. So actually, that's how you practice it, because you really don't know if he's going to throw a punch, which side it's going to be. So you have to kind of respond to it, and then you have to respond. So you have to. So what's the response? Which way you're going to go? So when he punches, this is outside, right? He punches. This is inside. So here, inside is like this. So when you see a movement like this, that's why the hand goes out. If you see a hand on the outside, it goes like this. If I go like this, that goes down. If I go like this, which is not as good, because when it's this low, you don't want to take it up through your space to deflect it. So you just go down. But look at, if he goes down and you're here, that's not good. So you go down and you go out. Or when you go out, this comes. It has to be, so it has to be spontaneous. So you know these movements, tiger. But it's a punch. So that's really, you're learning all these animal movements or animal forms, but really it's just, a progression of other motions that you've learned. So it really comes down to your basic low, middle, and high. And if you can get those as a response, then eventually it becomes natural. You're doing this, and this when you do the kicks, right? So, jet kun and wa kun, when you jet kun, boom. That's really, we punch, kick, punch, kick. Same thing. So that's why your body is moving as if it's synchronized. So, the combination of hand, leg, punch. That's really kind of as a action. The idea is that if I go like this, he doesn't know which one to block, right? So that could be a setup. Doesn't mean you're going to kick him with this and hit him with this. You might be just doing this. Then when he responds to this, you go with this, and you go with this. But the real one is when he decides to block, is that one. Because that's called Sambi, and then there's the real technique and the fake technique. So it's, they have a saying, the Qigong used to have these poems. So it's Jin Jin Gaga, real, fake. Non-mock chak. It's hard to determine which one is real, which one is fake when he's just moving at you. But any one of those can be real. Because we're going soft and he goes for it, you don't know if that's the real one or fake one. But he doesn't go for it, it keeps going. You see? So if I go like this, then it becomes real. So it's a deflection. So you can see, like this. If he throws a punch, I throw my punch. You see? So this is, right? If I go like this, he punches here, right? So here again. This is the continuation of, that's your corner back fist. It's not this, it's this. So when you do this, it's this. Boom. It's this is your deflection. You see what happens is you're redirecting the force, and then when you redirect, boom. Now see, here. You see how that follows? You're going 1, 2, 3. See, that's an uppercut, right? 1, 2, 3. I can strike this way, boom, boom, boom. Now this is a hook. This uppercut. Doesn't always have to be within the perfect form. So when this comes like this, it might be just setting up here, and then if here you turn again, so you have that in Bangbu Kun. 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So Bangbu Kun, this punch came this way, this came this way. So there's variation. Your hand is there, it becomes this, and then this becomes this. So you see the defensive arm. So for every action, there's a equal object, but both direction of movement are functional. If my hand is here, and even though he blocks, whatever the next movement comes, this comes here. So from here, see that here and here. So if you're very efficient, it goes like this. It goes like this. This is coming in. But you see, this was a shrug, right? So that's why we do shrugging. Actually, the turtle. Wudang Yehi Mound has some turtle images, right? The turtle and the snake. Right, so the turtle. So the other thing was when you do your sword, right? So you actually like moving your head. So, all right. So, that's basically what we're doing in Kungfu. When we're here, 1, right? Let's do this. 2, 3. So there we built the simultaneous block punch, but use instead of 1, 2, which is actually training for footwork and distance judging. But when you use movement, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So we have that movement in kungfu, and we also have that movement with the phoenix eye in fuhak. So in fuhak, after we do the crane, right? We do the crane, then we say on this side, then this one becomes the vertical, and here. Then we step back, and then come forward. Step back. So this is retreating and coming back. So this is actually avoiding and coming back. So it's using your sliding step to go backwards, stepping back, stepping back. So it's important to hold your center line vertical. Here. Right. So that's what we try to do is, and then turn the shoulder enough so you get used to the twist. Because if you don't twist when you punch, what ends up happening is in a situation where you're stressed and you're a little bit nervous, what's the first thing that happens? Tighten up. So when you tighten up, what's the first thing that happens? No movement. Tension is the biggest conflict of movement. So you block and you think you're doing it fast, but you never reach the target because you can't release the power. So you have to train your body to be to be able to respond and react. But it comes from the body knowing, right? So the body really doesn't know, and when you're in a situation, confidence is knowing. So if you don't know, then the confidence starts to diminish. So that happens in every situation. As a competitor, same thing. You know, once you start to get tired, you're in a situation of not knowing because your body's starting to fail. When it fails, it's because of the endurance mainly. But the other thing is, if you meet a challenger that's superior, then you begin to lose confidence because you don't know how to, that. So that's why, on a competitive level, you have to train to build the confidence and the stamina. In a self-defense situation, you just, under pressure, you have to kind of pull it out of your hat. But, that's not so easy to do. So that's why we go through this, just to at least have a basic understanding of it. If that's something that's part of that's important to you, then you have to kind of think along those lines of practice. So anyways, so we have the block and the sliding step blending together. So what are you building? You're building your body form and your imagery. So why is imagery important? Because imagery is action. Every time I do this, I'm preparing to do this. Every time I do this, I'm preparing. So when you do your forms, every time you go into a movement, you're preparing to do the next movement. You're preparing to do the next movement, to the next movement. So that's your preparation, right? Preparation isn't just this. Preparation is not just this. It's everything you do. So if you're going through that process, you have to train your body to become, setting up all the time. You're always setting up. So when I'm like this, I'm setting up. That's just your basic setup. You set up and then you move, and then whatever you do, the next movement's going to happen off of that. But without that, you're not going to just see, then you're going to start doing all this. That's kind of predetermining. The first thing you do is have to intercept it and block, right? So what is this one? This is a Z, right? High, low, chun. So this is just one of the actions that we know. So we go back to square one. So square one is high, low, chunkyo, scoop. So you have this. You have this. Right? Then later on you learn, well, you have this, you have this, you have this. That's the same this that is there. It's just that at a different place. So when your body gets familiar with it, it just becomes innate. You've seen it before. And if you've seen it before, then the more you see it, the more recognition there is. It doesn't seem like, oh, what do I do there? So when we're, let's pick any movement in the form, when this is most basic, this one, boom, boom, we did that, boom, boom. So Minor does a lot of these drills, but we have to understand why we would do these drills. Footwork and timing. Setup, right? Setup, 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 setup and punch, setup and punch, right? Step backwards, punch, step backwards, punch. Yeah. Yeah, so, if you're in a situation, you're going backwards, it's no good to just keep going backwards because it's going to keep coming at you. You have to throw something back. So if you're going back, it's better to do that. It's better to turn and punch as a retreat. Because if you retreat and at some point, you're going to be in a bad position and you're most vulnerable at that position because now you're backing up, and you're backing up into a corner or losing your balance, and then no longer. So you have to retaliate immediately, simply because no battle is won without the offense. It's just the best is a draw. So you have to actually use your technique regardless of whether you think it's going to work or not. So my teacher used to say, one punch, one punch. You both have to have one punch. Someone's going to land. But if he throws a punch and I have no punch, you don't even have a 50-50 chance. Right? So that's why that's actually pretty good advice, because if a punch comes at you and you don't hit back, you already lost half the battle. Right? So you have to you're not talking about your good friend that just spilled soda on you. You're talking about if really someone's going to assault you, you have to retaliate immediately. Don't hold back. And the Seagull had a saying. How's it go? Let me see. Long dum chut okdum ah. So it means long is aggressive. You don't respond aggressively if it's not venomously, okduma. So you only strike back, in a situation. But if you're going to strike back, you have to make sure that it's going to have results. So that's why the only thing he poked at was the eyeballs. Unfortunately, that's places that he would attack: the throat, the eyes, and these places. He doesn't hit kneecaps, even though that's what some people do when they have to collect debt. They break kneecaps because you survive it. But those, because you have to get away, so it's a survival skill. So anyways, that's just old school thoughts. Not workable today because of liability and lawsuits. And if you come from a kungfu school, you're probably in big trouble, because they said that's what they practice. So anyways, okay, so let's go back to the peaceful stuff like fuhak. Okay, ready? But I usually don't talk about this stuff, but I think you. What's that? No, I taught at Wellesley. No, because when I teach and it's a 12-session thing, and it's a martial art, I have to get across at least that it's a martial art and that it's important for them to understand why we're doing it, other than so they we have to talk about a lot of things. But because at a traditional school, we have a lot of different things that we can do, and there's time. But when there's no time, if you're doing a self-defense course, you have to be about self-defense. So, and I think today's kind of crazy world out there, it's good to know something that's going to help you during a situation that you don't know. You see it out in the street all the time that people get, hit from behind and just assaulted for no reason. And so you just have to you always have to have your awareness and guard up if you're out in the street and you don't know, what's around you. So, but it's just a survival skill. Anyways, so let's do Fu Hawk. Okay, ready? Salute. Wait, Lawrence. Lawrence here. Hi. The other Lawrence. Oh, hello, Lawrence. Okay, keep going. He's coming to see Rob. Did he bill you? Did he? So yeah, so the Fu Hawk form is just like Gung Chi Kun has pretty dynamic opening, and then it goes into all this footwork. Now, one of the unique things about Fu Hak, as you progress through your the form near the end, is that there's a lot of dimension, a lot of different motions that your body is mostly unfamiliar with in the beginning, but there's all these directions of movement, so you're dealing with a lot of spatial transitions that your body isn't accustomed to, so it doesn't really know where the lines are. So lines and movement are really in space. So when doing double tiger, you have to remember that the double tiger in this series of 10 movements is only two different ones: single tiger and double tiger. The most important thing is that the double tiger is from the shoulders like a tiger, leaping, right? The other one is like it's coming up, It comes up and it comes down, comes up and it's come down. Cats kind of paw at you like this. If you go to the zoo and look at that tiger, and you give them something to eat, they want to kind of paw at it like this. It's not until they want to pounce on you that they start to do that. But if they're just doing that, that's kind of grabbing with the claw. And when they go like this, it's just kind of soft and pushing, right? And if you notice, they don't reach. They're not doing, right? You ever see a tiger? They're pretty, as big as they are, they're pretty gentle. When they move, they're soft. When they walk, their paws are soft. So why do we do tigers like this? Right? That's a human tiger. If a tiger was watching us, they would say, "Ooh, what kind of animal is that?" So. Very loose. Yeah.
It's like almost like this.
Yeah, and it's very meaty, like it's kind of cushiony. And then, but when they go like this, their nails come out that are hidden between, the digits, and they go like that, and then they go back inside. But when they show their claws, those things are like razor sharp. And a kitten's the same way. Cats, their paws are the same way, but they're soft, and their arms move from the shoulders, and they're like this, and they move. So when your hand comes down, hands comes up. When it comes down and then it goes up, it comes down, it goes up. That's the action of a tiger. So you're looking to create the visuals and the imagery of the movement, and then learn how to use the movement. The hand is like this. The hand pawing down is when you grasp. The hand going up is when you strike. That's a single tiger. So when you're in the butterfly and you go like this, when you step to double, then you come like this as you're coming down. Then you pull back, and then you like this. Then you stomp, cover, and you do your double tiger. So the double tiger comes over like this, and it's not twisted out. It's kind of like this, right? So, how can you know if the position is like this or like this? Use your fingers to determine whether it should be vertical like this, or twisted like this, or twisted like this. That tells you, like hunga, if you have your vertical finger like this, then your bridge position will be probably correct. When you're in this position and you're pulling down, the tiger's mouth should be to the front, like this. Because if you're going to grab and then pull down, your hands have to be in the position to pull down. Because if the elbows are out like this, then your fingers are forward. If your fingers are forward, you don't have the leverage or the position to use your arms action. So when every time you pull down, your hand should be like this, with the C part of that hand facing to the front. You see? So that's how your hand should be. So when you're hooking like this, it's a little bit different, because hooking like a cutting hand, but using this. When you're in gung kun and you're dropping your elbow and you're pulling down, you're you should be like this. When you cover the hand and you turn like this, now the tiger's mouth is facing horizontal like this, because that's where you're capturing the arm, and it's going like this. That same hand position is in the second form when you go like this. You see? So this position allows you to capture the arm horizontally, and then this position allows you to pull down. This takes it, hook is just an attachment, and then when you go like this, you use your hook to negate the movement, or hook, and then you'd have to drop your elbow and flip over to capture. So you know what I mean by flipping over? If I hook his hand here, I can take it out and do this, or I have to do this. See, if I hook him like this and I use my palm to pin down, then I would have a position. So you can't do this and then catch it. There's a break there. You'd have to hook and then turn. So that's the attachment. You can't attach if you're hard and stiff. So because this side is like a crane, then it's soft. This side is coming up. See, it comes up into his solar plex, or maybe it goes here. But you can just come to here and use it like this too. You can just drape your hand over like this and drape, but then if you want to push, it goes like this. So between hook and press and grab are three different positions. So you have to understand why when you maneuver through positions, they have advantages and disadvantages based on the structure and the integrity of that position. So all that is really kind of a learning curve, but it's built into sensitivity, agility. So we talk agility of footwork, agility of body, agility of arms. All that becomes part of what we're learning. So after you do the first two, and we turn, we do the double, we stomp, and do the single. This, we go to horse stance, cover, double. Then we shift the weight, cross over. So you have to get into a good cross stance, shift, and then come up again. Then when we cross over and cover, you have to get in a good horse stance, and here. Then when we turn, cover, and push, you shift your weight. Take your step, the hand moves. Take your step, and it comes out. You cross over, step, and push. Now you have your two stomps, the pak bu. Step, cross, cover, and push. Step, cross, cover, and push. Then you sit back, put the leg in the sweep position, drop it back to here, shift, swing out, and sweep. Then fold here. So that's all footwork. So you should really try to get that part down, because the significance of the 10 tigers in the tiger crane form is pretty important. That's the first phase of all that footwork. So you have 5 on each side. If you're not doing it like that, just means you have to practice it more and understand what it feels like to do it correctly, because all of this is the feeling. Because when you learn the movement, there's no understanding of what it should be like. Then as you evolve, feeling is what? Muscle memory, positioning, transition, timing, integration. All that stuff becomes part of that feeling. Because once it feels right and is pointed out and the muscle positioning is correct, then you're on your sort of that pathway. But meanwhile, it's just a bunch of movements, no rhyme, no reason. Don't even know what it's for. So, anyways, time to bow. Hup. Salute. Okay. That's it. Another day. He came for you.